Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
3, 2, 1, and we're back. And Julie, I am actually a little nervous about today's show. Can I tell you why?
Yes, please.
We're doing review and comment on the news, something we haven't done for a long time.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's right. Well, specifically though, we're going to do a story. We're going to do a show on this article that was in on Inman news features. We're big fans of Inman, by the way. I've been friends with Brad since the 90s.
Yes.
That's scary. Anyway, so it's called The New Normal. What if everyone just stops paying for leads?
It almost sounds like a challenge, right? Why don't we all just stop paying for leads? There's a good question, isn't it?
In my mind, the way this reads, it's like someone's been listening to our podcast. That's basically when you guys are in a long-time listeners, Julie's going to start reading this article. We're going to stop and we're going to comment. And if you aren't an Inman subscriber, then we're going to, essentially read this article to you, not all of it, but most of it. And then we're going to go through it and we're going to tell you, and we're going to essentially prove to you some of the statistics that they're going to be sharing, why there's essentially the buying leads business model is dead. If not dead, it's dying. And the result is going to be what Julie and I have been trying to get all of you to do forever, which is be proactive lead generators. So, Julie, without any further delay, why don't you just start reading right there? Read right there.
Yes, you got it. And this is not speculation. This is fact. So pay attention, guys. There's no shortage of real estate marketing advice and strategy available to agents today, from branding to content development to search engine optimization. Traditionally, however, there was always another option for agents and brokers who wanted a turnkey, hands-off approach to lead generation: paid leads through an online portal such as Zillow or Realtor.com. Shall I continue?
Just continue.
Okay. Increasingly, however, the high price and low quality of paid leads, along with the existential threat posed by the incursion of big tech into the real estate industry, has individual agents, team leaders, and broker owners reconsidering the wisdom of outsourcing marketing to a third-party platform. So what if we all just stopped paying for leads?
Or if you're a Harris coaching client, you're not buying leads in the first place. So now you just essentially get to look at all the others in the industry who are coming around to your way of thinking. But I want you guys I'm going to give you guys a little think about thing, and then Julie's going to pick up right where she left off. And you can skip as much as you want to, just so we can. But okay. I actually know Chris, so this is kind of good. So anyway, here's the thought for all of you: would you ever build your mansion on somebody else's land? In other words, would you go to the trials and the tribulations of designing a house, building a house, doing all the things necessary to build this big, beautiful house on land you don't own? You would never do that, would you? It's asinine even to think about doing that. And yet that's what most of you are doing. If you're buying leads, you're building your mansion, which is your business. It's your livelihood. It's your future. And you're building it on someone else's land, which is essentially you buying leads.
You're giving up control. So what's the problem with paid leads? Well, simply put, according to a growing number of all of you guys, real estate agents and brokers, paid leads cost too much and provide too little return on investment.
She's reading the Inman article, by the way.
In fact, Real Estate Pros lauded Inman contributor and founder, and I think somebody CEO Chris Lindell Real Estate, indeed Chris himself, Chris Lindell, who predicted in his recent opinion column that buying leads could end your business in 2 years. Agents used to be able to say, I've got the listings and the proprietary data. Now consumers and big tech have the data, so what's your value? If you're swiping your credit card every day for a third-party company to send you leads, third parties control your destiny, not you, Lindell wrote.
Thus, your mansion on somebody else's land. You guys with us? I know you are.
Indeed. Teresa Hurley of Keller Williams in Pittsburgh has already stopped her paid Zillow lead generation due to low quality and high cost. She says, I've been a licensed realtor for less than a year and have put my 12th property under contract. Nice job. Most of my deals have been in the past few months because of my own advertising.
So here's an interesting thought for all of you guys. Even though she might be buying leads through her own advertising, advertising means that she's still making the same mistake. She's moved from buying leads from Zillow. Now she's buying leads from her advertising. It's the same thing. And this is what I want you guys to see the takeaway is from this article. The article is basically how these guys and all these agents are saying what we've been saying forever, that buying leads is a very ineffective business model. Now, I want to predicate that by saying more than 10 years ago, 2007, 2008, Zillow is a great source of leads. And I also want to say this. Back when Realtor.com came around, Julie and I, in our real estate business, advertised with Realtor.com because it was a great source of leads. And then it becomes oversaturated. And that's ultimately the problem with any of these great marketing ideas. And what you really got to understand is even if you, let's say, get a couple of these buying lead things working in your favor. And I'll give you a real salient example from the news headlines that happened over last week. And I'll just give you guys the talking points here. So Dave Ramsey organization has something called the ELP program. And it's something that for years, Julie and I would tell our coaching clients to at least seriously consider. When the ELP program came out, it was a 25% referral fee. It was a very clean referral. It was just everything about it we liked it. It was good. It was essentially the type of business that's okay paying for because it's an agent-to-agent referral in essence. Well, over the years, guess what? It got saturated, then it got oversaturated, and then he started charging $250 a month. And then there was a 25% referral fee, and now I've been told, though I don't know this, has gone to 40%. And now they've decided for some competitive reason, I can only imagine, that if you're an EXP agent, they're not going to allow you to be an ELP. Now, it could be because there's maybe relationships between Keller Williams and Dave Ramsey or Remax and Dave Ramsey. Who knows? Who cares? But the moral of the story is if you were an agent who was dependent on buying leads, getting leads from Dave Ramsey, now you've essentially built your mansion on someone else's land. So these sorts of mistakes have a tendency to be repeated over and over and over again in different forms. So maybe you're not buying leads from Zillow anymore, but now you're going to slip it down another slippery slope, not realizing you're going to end up with the same result. Chris, who said agents who are buying their business are going to be out of business in 24 months, I don't think it's even going to take that long. So Julie?
Yes. So what does the day-to-day look like without paid leads? And agents do get anxiety breaking up with these companies because they think they're getting something when in fact they're getting nothing.
Well, they get anxiety because they don't know what else to do.
That's right. That's
right.
The reason they got something, but they're not sure what to do next. Yep. So what do you do next? Well, agents will have to do their part and take a more hands-on approach to their own marketing, focusing on their own analytics and their own activities so they know what messages are getting responses. Some of them are spending money in other places, so it's the shift.
So here's what I want to point out to you guys. This article is basically saying they're going from buying leads back to buying leads. That's what I want you guys to focus on when I'm trying to share with you. This article starts with saying how buying leads is a bad idea and you're going to be out of business. And the article ends with these agents talking about the fact they're going to do the same thing. They're just going to spend their money in a different way.
That's right.
That's the gist of the article. The whole article, so like, for example, many agents we talk to are focused on branding and content building, creating your own digital realm, online presence.
Social media, of course.
Very things Julie and I make fun of every day on the show. Social media, virtual communication, and driving traffic to their websites. Now, let's talk about that. There was an article actually on Inman written by Teak Wiggins, an excellent article that says the average agent gets a total. Now, this is a question. I'll pose this question a different way. Listeners, how many leads do you think the average agent gets per year from their agent website? How many would you guess? How many? Throw out a number in your head. Well, you're all wrong. The answer is 0. According to the article that was written on Inman by Teak Wiggins, the average agent gets 0 leads from their websites. Why? Because it's oversaturated. Because the opportunity, other than spending money to generate business online, is long since gone. Essentially the kings have already been declared.
But Tim, what about SEO? Can't I just pay somebody to find my website?
Well, okay, so let's, this article also talks about doing Facebook advertising and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. You guys are going to end up in the exact same place because your whole business is going to be predicated on you never learning how to be proactive lead generators. As long as you buy your business as your primary source of business, you will always be on the edge of being broke. And that's the thing you have to be clear of in your head. Now, also, be clear about this. Do Julie and I think that there's a place in your business to buy leads? Yes, we do. But it comes after you've learned how to be a proactive lead generator, not the first thing you do. And this article doesn't even mention that. This article goes on to talk more about essentially different ways they're going to buy leads, and all these agents are going to end up right where they started. And they think, like, for example, search engine optimization. So you realize how much time and money you're going to have to spend to even get on high placement on the second page of Google. And so what's your alternative? Well, Tim, I'm just going to do a pay-per-click ad, and I'm going to put my name and my website on that first top spot. Okay, you could do that. You could spend a tremendous amount of money. You could go and compete against all the big brokerages in the United States. You could compete against Zillow and Realtor.com and all these other big companies. And you could put your ad on the first spot under whatever keywords you want under a Google pay-per-click. Then you have to learn how to do it. Then you're going to have to make a website that's going to want to make people want to actually opt in and leave their information. Then you're going to have to spend all this additional time and money trying to reinforce that actual activity. It is not easy. It is not cheap, and the rules change all the time, and nobody tells you the rules changed until they've changed. That's what Google does. That's what Facebook does. All these platforms, they go and change the rules. The rules for SEO, for example, change all the time because those systems don't want to be gamed. And SEO is essentially creating your website so that it essentially meets all the search algorithm specific criteria, Google's rules. But then Google does an update, changes the rules, and then you're back in the hamster wheel trying to chase SEO so you create leads. And you're always going to be dependent on buying business. It's an asinine way of building any business, especially a real estate business. Why? Because in your marketplace right now, there are sellers who have their hands up in the air who want you to come and help them sell the house, and those leads are free. So why would you do all this other? Well, I'm building my brand. I'm building my brand. That's why, damn it, Tim, you don't know what the hell that even means. You don't know what building, I got an email like that the other day. You don't know what building your brand means. And I'm like, okay, go right ahead and build your brand. You've got the best real estate brand ever. Why is someone going to want to call you to list their house? Because you've got a pretty picture on a nice website with you and your dog. By the way, how much money have you set aside to build your brand over the years? And how are you going to invest, hundreds of thousands in doing this until you actually start seeing any kind of revenue? Do you guys understand what the concept of profit is? Profit's what's left over after all of your expenses. And what these systems and these people are doing is they're not running profit-minded businesses because they're not being proactive lead generators. Imagine a world where you could wake up in the morning and you could make, say, five proactive contacts to decision-making adults about selling their homes. And we always focus selling, not buying, because that's where the money's always going to be at in real estate, right? So on selling their homes, you do that every single day. You do that 5 days of the week. You take the weekends off. You do it so that's 25 a week. You made 100 contacts per month. Julie, share with them the statistics from actual coaching clients.
Yes, okay, so today was a perfect example for Facebook.
And by the way, your results will vary, obviously, but go ahead.
Okay, so we do, of course, our victory speeches just to keep everybody inspired and prove that the model works, okay? So it was like explanation after explanation on Facebook today for our coaching members.
So Premier Coaching members, you get entitled to a daily semi-private coaching call and probably 3 or 4 days of the week. Julie likes to run those Premier Coaching sessions. We have lots of other coaches, but Julie likes to do it because Julie likes to share those experiences with you guys. So you, would have Julie as your Premier Coach on a daily semi-private coaching call on our Premier Coaching private Facebook group every single day except Saturday and Sunday.
Yes. So, for example, student number 1 said, I talked to 4 for sale by owners. I set 1 listing appointment. I have another one to follow up on for next week. That was 4 contacts. Proactive lead generation. Next person said, I am spending the entire month talking to my own center of influence and past clients. I will not go to bed any evening without talking to at least 10 of them.
Well, so let's talk. What we're talking about now, we're talking about numbers that are predicated on your effort, right? We're talking about you being a proactive lead generator, and then what you do is you track your numbers. And so if you gave me an example of someone who was sharing their results,
yes,
who was an inexperienced proactive lead generator,
yep,
never did it before, went through the gauntlets of Modor, doing the dumb stuff of buying leads, right?
Yes, this is a reformed lead generator.
Came to us to learn how to actually build a profitable real estate business, and they were door knocking of all things.
Yes, and in this case, well, there's several examples, but in this particular case, door knocking for separate for sale by owners. And I think 2 of them were second visits, right? So they're doing their follow-up. She set a for sure listing appointment with one of them. The second one says, I'm going to give it one more weekend and then I'm giving up. That was 4 contacts, a total of 1 afternoon.
Yeah, and that's probably 2 listings. I don't know what her average sale price is, but if it's like the rest of the country, off those 4 contacts and all the follow-ups, she's going to probably make at least 25 or 30 grand gross.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next one, slightly more experienced, but not by much, was also calling on older expireds, okay?
Gold mine.
Yeah, older expireds. This one was about 18 months old. And get this, it wasn't 1 listing, but 2 listings, both of them over $1 million.
How can you guys, if you follow our model, you use our system, you then start every single day, you wake up, you do the real work, you get consistent results. Why the hell would you ever want your fate tied to buying leads? When you buy leads, what are you doing? You're just hoping and praying that you're playing the leads roulette, the roulette wheel or whatever the hell it's called, right? We used to live in Vegas.
Roulette.
We should know, right? Where hopefully maybe you're going to get that 1 in 50 leads, which actually is going to be any good.
Ugh.
And then your whole essentially financial future, psychological welfare is dependent on buying more and more leads.
Well, and you're even assuming that they're the only ones talking to that person, right? They
and
still have to compete.
And then the fallacy and the arguments of these people, some of them, not all of them, in this article that Julie was just reading to you, and the people trying to sell you the leads in the first place, was that more leads equals better. You want to have more leads. The mission in life is to generate more leads. The person with the most leads wins. No, that is not true. Leads themselves have no value. They are garbanzo beans. So why do they tell you that? Because they want to sell you garbanzo beans.
And because you believe it. All they have to do is say, well, you need to sign up for more. You need to do it more frequently.
Buy more.
You have to have more, impressions. I love that word.
Right. Buy more leads. Oh, what the hell am I going to do with all these leads? You put them in a CRM. So now you're spending $300 to $500 a month to drip on them. Here's another thing that you guys may not know. Long-term lead follow-up via drip campaigns has proven to be essentially a complete waste of time. I know some of you are literally offended by what I just said. Do your own homework on Google and don't go to the companies that are trying to sell you the systems, do long-term lead follow-up for you to use as your basis of your research. Do some actual homework on this. Long-term lead follow-up is a waste of time, effort, and money. The way you make money in real estate is you make contacts, you pre-qualify, you essentially prioritize around the people that are actually motivated. You set the appointment, you send the pre-listing pack, you go on the listing appointment, you take the listing, you build towards your magic number of listings. That's how you make money in real estate. Stop making it so damn complicated. You are being manipulated to believe that it's more complicated than it is. Why are you continuing to believe that it's more complicated than it is? I know why, because maybe this is the first time you've come across Julie and I. And maybe you were the first, like these people in this article, they're all talking about, oh, you don't want to buy leads. And so what are you going to do if you no longer buy leads? The author writes, poses this question. And what do they say? Well, we're going to buy leads, of course.
Spend it somewhere else.
What the hell else are we going to do?
Diversify your spend.
We're going to go from buying leads to buying leads. You guys understand how insane that is?
Well, it's even more insane when you realize that survey after survey of people who have actually closed, where they are asked, how did you decide who you were going to do business with? It's always, number one, 86% of the time, who I already knew.
Yep.
Okay, so your mission is to be the one they know.
Centers of influence and past clients,
Yes.
the people that you know are essentially people that, and that is the first spoke we ask all of you to build. We show you how to do that on the Premier Coaching Program. And by the way, our Center of Influence and Past Client system is free. Right. We're not asking you to mail off a bunch of tchotchkes and drop off pumpkin pies on all the other goofiness. We want you to actually pick up the phone, have real conversations. We tell you what to say and we tell you how to say it.
About real topics that they actually care about.
Julie, I got a text this morning from somebody, and I won't read the text. It was long. And great, incredible content in it, though, as far as what this person has done in a very short time. But here's the question. He's working for a brokerage. It was a discount brokerage. It was Las Vegas. And in essence, he was managing this office. And he himself was in charge of the group that was inside the office that would essentially essentially pre-qualify and then go on listing appointments. Okay. But the way that this brokerage was generating business is they were essentially a flat fee discount brokerage. Okay, that's what they were doing. And he essentially is saying, I realize I can be a listing agent. Because I've been doing it. I realize that I have the the tenacity to do the real sales of real estate. Because in this entity doing this job, all he's been receiving is praise. He has nothing to show for it financially. And then he went to say, I heard that you have to have something like $50,000, and who said that? I don't know, to actually get into real estate because you have to buy this, you have to buy the other thing. You have to have the cost of your real estate license, and then you should sign up for our Premier Coaching Program.
And a phone.
And a phone. That's right. And you got to remember too, it always comes down to ever increasing long-term levels of success, always comes down to doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. And that is going to be for many of you. So if you guys, here's kind of full circle, if you guys don't listen to what the message that we've been telling you forever about learning how to be proactive lead generators, when are you? Is it when Dave Ramsey is going to pull the rug from underneath your feet? Is it when you're going to be invested in some other platform buying your business and that's going to no longer work? Is it going to be when, all these other things that you're not in control of, which inevitably always happen, and you have no plan B, and then you're going to fail out of real estate? And guys, you might be doing look, don't listen to people that brag about how many units or how much volume they're doing. That's the typical real estate thing.
Yes, it is.
I've sold thousands of homes. Okay, great. What do you have to show for it? What's your net income? My team and I, we sold, we had $50 million of volume last year. Okay, well, good. So
Well, that's awesome. You must have everything paid off and tons of money saved. Why are you still doing this?
that's right. And they don't, because they've been buying all their business. Their cost of goods sold is extraordinary. And oftentimes, and this is going to blow your mind, guys, most of the biggest teams run profit margins to themselves of less than 10%. So we use this as an example, but it's a really, I think, salient example. Your team and you can have a total GCI of $1 million, and you're going to have a net income, non-BS net income of around maybe 120 to 150 grand. If you're lucky, most of you are going to have a net income of around 100 to 120, and that's with a GCI of $1 million. Now, it didn't used to be like that. When Julie and I sold real estate, the margins were a hell of a lot more. Matter of fact, when Gary Keller wrote his book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that whole book has been essentially, people bought the book, put it on their bookshelf, but they didn't read it. Because one of the things that Gary teaches in his book is red light, green light when it comes to expenses. All you folks have really learned is green light, green light, green light. Because you always have to lead with profit. You always have to build your business and make your decisions around what's going to make you the most profit. The reason that you're in the real estate business is to make profit, not just to turn transactions. So,
Yeah, and in fact, the single agent or the agent with one assistant. I think of people like Rob Johnson, okay, who have, learned the skill and can predictably and duplicatably take listings.
He'll do 130 to 140 million this year.
Yeah, and his net rocks.
And he has one assistant.
One assistant.
Yeah,
Because he knows how to do
his
it.
expense is basically his assistant. That's it.
His assistant and whatever support stuff for the listings.
Right. Well, he's on a commission split, so they pay for most of the support
is
stuff
even
for his
better.
listings, which is
Okay.
even better in his particular situation. But I know the point you're making.
Yeah.
So if you look at, for example, say, for example, you got that, and thanks for putting me back on track.
It's okay.
You got the team that makes $1 million in gross revenue. They've got buyers agents. They've got listing specialists. They're buying leads. They've been working on their brand and their logo. 2 or 3 TCs. Everyone thinks they're the greatest thing ever. They got a wall full of plaques everywhere. Everyone thinks that they're the best thing ever.
And don't forget, they're also paying for commercial space and leases and receptionists and phone systems.
But what's actually happened is the cost of the leads have increased. The value of the leads has decreased. They're essentially, the commissions, especially on the buyer side of the transactions in most markets, has decreased. So these people have gone from making what they didn't even realize when they were scaling this up, because no one tells them, when they were building all this, they didn't stop to say, so if I build this and I'm making $1 million a year in GCI and I have this big team, Mr. Coach, what am I actually going to make per year? Nobody ever asked that question.
Ever.
And if they did, they got lied to about the answer, because the answer is what I said. On average, in this market, probably about 100 to 120 grand. That's what you're going to make. Why would you do that? Explain it to me, because, you got Betty, she's a sole practitioner, and Betty's going to sell. She's not making $1 million. She's not getting the plaques. She's not agent of the month. Nobody's getting tattoos of her, but she had a total GCI, our friend Betty, making Betty up, you guys get the gist, of say 140 grand, 130 grand. Her net is the same as the big team leader who has $1 million in GCI. You guys understanding what I'm saying here?
And it's more scalable. So look at it this way. Not too long ago, 2 or 3 days ago, we were talking about for sale by owners. But we were talking about expireds and all these other lead sources, not to mention your center of influence, right? So we did some math and we said, if you're only okay at it and you only choose your category, it could be any of those, and you talk to 10 people a day and you set one listing appointment per week, so that's 4 per month. And even if you only took 2 with an average net to you of say 10 grand, you're making with that giant team with all of its working pieces and parts and all of the spend, you're making that by yourself.
That's the point.
Okay. On possibly only, 24 deals or less. For some of you, 10 deals, 12 deals or less by yourself or with an assistant with virtually no cost.
And if the market takes a fart like it did last year when COVID came around, and basically everyone was, running around, not knowing where their income was going to come from. Oh, like it did back in 2007 and 2008, like it did after the tech bubble. We've been in this business, Jules and I.
Like it did after 9/11 even.
You guys get the point. It happens. But you, with this big team, are now stuck with all this fixed cost. How much money have you set aside in order to cover the times when the essentially sales stopped happening? Oh, I know the answer, none, because you did not have enough profit in the first place to even barely make your own bills and pay your own taxes. That is the fallacy of what you're being taught to believe. These are the great lies of real estate. And Julie and I we're going to shout from the top of the mountains, anyone that'll listen to us, and we're going to say, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to experience this pain and suffering. You can actually build a real estate business the right way, right away, and have consistent profit. You might not get a bunch of plaques and awards. You probably will, but who knows? There's always going to be somebody that's willing to buy business because they're not motivated by profit. They're motivated by ego and wanting to be famous. That's their motivation. So you guys have to be clear in your minds about this. It is the middle of June. If you want to sell 15 listings between now and the end of the year, what's the way that's going to most assuredly get you to that goal the fastest? Is it branding? Is it building a team? Is it doing marketing? Is it working on your SEO and your long-term lead follow-up? You see the difference? Proactive means you're actually doing it. Passive, which is what all that is, means you're doing all this other stuff, hoping and praying that somebody actually calls you or reaches out to you. We want you to do the thing that's going to make the result for you the fastest, that costs the least amount of money, that has the least risk, that takes the least amount of time. That's what we want you to do. So you can start then rinse,
lather, rinse, repeat.
Thank you.
Let me give you another example. This is a client in South Carolina, okay? So she had a listing. She actually has 2 listings in her own neighborhood. She just sold one of them after an absolutely rockin' open house with multiple people coming, multiple offers, okay? So she puts that on her nextdoor.com/name of her neighborhood. And all she did was, and this is from our coaching, good news, bad news. Good news is I just sold a house in our neighborhood with multiple offers in less than 2 weeks with 2 open houses. Bad news is we had 6 other people looking to live here. Who's next?
Okay, so that's an example of very affordable passive lead generation. But what we want you to remember is always do the proactive lead generation first. And if you want to add the passive
you didn't let me finish. She also, after posting that on her neighborhood, nextdoor.com, name of her neighborhood, went door knocking to say, did you see my post? And reconnected with her neighbors. And I think she'll end up with at least 2 or 3 listings from that.
So Julie, we say this every single podcast. Mm-hmm. So why people are listening to us, and I know some of them are like, ugh, that Julie Harris, she's so rude. Right? No, so they're listening to us and they're saying, damn it.
Oh.
They're making sense. It's logical. I hate it. But what they're telling me is true. So what they're telling me is I actually have to do the things that I've been told that I never have to do, that somehow magically the real proactive lead generation and real work of real estate, the people that have been trying to get me to believe that those weren't the only ways really to build your real estate business in a meaningful, profitable way, were the very people that were also benefiting from me believing that that wasn't the only true way to build your business in a meaningful, profitable way. In other words, the lead selling people, right? So now that I know that that's not true, now that I know I can be a proactive lead generator, why would they not take action on it?
They want it to be more complicated, and it's just easier to give out your credit card number and pray to the real estate gods that something could work out. And I think, confirmation bias, because one of their, 2,000 leads in their drip system worked out once, that they want to believe in that. It's more passive. You can sleep in and wait for something to pop into your email, except when it does and you call them back and they ask you if you're the listing agent, you either have to lie and be unethical or get hung up on.
So why would you guys want to have lives of quiet desperation.
That's what it is.
Why would you want to do that? Why would you want, and you spend a lot of time basically surrounding yourself with other people that are doing the same thing. And so you just basically have come to believe that that's just what the business is. The business is essentially throwing darts in a dark room. That's what you actually believe it is. You've actually believe, and you're actually acting like you believe, that this business cannot be predictable, duplicatable. You actually believe that the only way forward for you is to essentially keep on doing these gimmick ideas and chasing the bright, shiny objects versus you actually doing the real work of real estate. You guys understanding what I'm saying here? This is going to make you broke. It's going to make it so that you never get out of this industry what it could have otherwise done for you and your family. And this is what we want you to confront within yourself. Because here's the truth. The pain, the anguish, the stress, the financial loss, all the pain and hardship and unnecessary suffering that agents who are passive lead generators go through, they rationalize it by saying, I don't actually have to do the real work of real estate. I figured out how to game it. They don't make any profit. They make very little profit. And the burden they carry around with them of essentially not having done the real work of real estate, not having predictable income, not knowing whether or not they're even going to be able to buy, Christmas presents this year, all of that without borrowing money, all of that is way more pain and suffering than the little bit of stress you have to go through learning how to be a proactive lead generator.
It's really true. And our coaching clients have really amazing nets. What their profit is because they're not spending that much. And sometimes we play a game in our Facebook Live, which is, all right, here's the challenge. You got to take a listing by Friday, or in this case, depending on where we are in the week, by Monday. You got the weekend to do it. How are you going to do it? And it's always really fun to see what their answers are because these are trained up agents, right? They know. And so they'll say,
new ones don't, though.
The new ones don't. But that's why the ones that do are a good example to them. That's why we do it live like that, right? So some of them, because they've been doing what we've been talking about so much, they say, I know that it's in my lead follow-up. All I have to do is follow up and close.
And use the script and pre-qualify. Right.
And pre-qualifying. They've got their pre-listing packages together. They've got their presentation mojo down. And they know that they can close. In other words, it's predictable and duplicatable. They know the answer, and they have created those spokes which give them the business to close on.
So here's your homework for today's podcast. Okay, share this podcast with as many other agents as possible. Help us to end the needless pain and suffering in this industry because it really has become, an industry. I was going to say epidemic, but it's maybe even a pandemic at this point. So please help us to help agents from having to essentially fail out of this industry because they're following bad advice. As podcast listeners, what we're saying is true, or you're coming to know that it's true. Now, here's the action step you should be taking. At the very least, and this is self-serving, but who cares? At the very least, purchase our book, Harris Rules, from Amazon. It's got almost 500 five-star reviews. Read the most recent reviews, and you are going to read people's words who are talking about the fact, most of them, we're in this buying leads, nightmare, and then they discovered us, and now they're essentially running profitable businesses. When you read the reviews, you're going to realize what we are essentially have created is a movement back to insanity. Movements start out small, and we started out small, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. We've been doing this, Julie and I, for 20 years. And we've been coaching agents since 1998. So we know what we're saying works. We've perfected the system. Now all you have to do is copy it. And we'd love for you to consider hiring us as your coaches. And we've made it easy for you. Just text the word success, SUCCESS, to 47372. Text the word success to 47372. And when you do, we're going to text you back a link, and then you can join the Premier Coaching Program. The Premier Coaching Program is shockingly affordable for what you get. So just text the word success to 47372. And when you do, we're going to text you back a link. You can check out what Premier Coaching includes, which is basically everything you need. It's our complete system. It's not a watered down or, a half measure program. This is every single thing you need to do to build a very profitable, proactive based lead generation, real estate, listings focused business. So text the word success to 47372. Jules, anything else you'd like to say to these guys?
They might want to consider breaking up with their paid lead generation generation, which is too expensive for not giving you basically anything at this point.
Right. And I know, Julie said it earlier, it's going to cause you some physical and psychological angst to do it. But guess what? Continuing to pay for it is causing you financial angst in addition to the physical and psychological angst. So I'm trying to remove one of the three angsts that you're experiencing. And ultimately, the only way to be angst-free is being a proactive lead generator and seriously consider following our system. That's what we do. We specialize in agents who are recovering from having essentially followed the wrong path, covered with the thorns and primroses, and they're going to get back on the right path. They're going to learn to be of service to other people. They're going to learn to be proactive lead generators, focusing all their best energies every single day on, in essence, most of our top clients take 3 and 4 listings a week, even in this market. We can teach you to do the same thing. The question is, are you ready to learn? Text the word success to 47372. In the meantime, you guys have a fantastic day, and we'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows, and until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.